Hello everybody, today I'm doing a video on the 7 very common real estate requests that I get here in northern Arizona that are almost impossible for me to find for you. So if you've ever been thinking of buying a house or a piece of land in northern Arizona and think your request is a little bit unusual, stay tuned because I'm going to tell you the 7 requests that are almost impossible for me to find. Now I'm not saying I won't help you or that I can't help you, but I'm saying very, very low probability of success in these 7 frequently asked real estate requests. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where every single week I create a video about living in the northern half of the state of Arizona. My name is Dawn Dickinson. I am a realtor here in northern Arizona, and I sell real estate in Sedona, Verde Valley, Prescott area, and Flagstaff area. So if you ever have a question about real estate or are thinking of buying or selling a home up here, my contact information is always in the description below, so feel free to give me a call, email, or text, and I will get back to you. So the first request that's very difficult for me to help with is a piece of land for you to put your tiny home. Now, tiny homes have become very popular because of television coverage the last few years, and actually quite an interesting concept and possibly a affordable alternative. But what happens is you have land, especially very close to town, and there's zoning issues, and usually the tiny homes will have one or two problems. One is that it is so small it will often fall under the minimum build requirement. So even in a tiny place, funny, even in a place like Stoneman Lake, you know, where you only got about 200 lots to put homes in, there you have a restriction that you can't have a home smaller than 650 square foot. So that restricts right there just based on size. Now the other is zoning. A lot of times there will be, you know, site-built houses only as part of the zoning, and your tiny home is sometimes brought in on, you know, as a trailer axle and then affixed to the property. But because of that, they can say it's an RV or a mobile home and automatically kick you out from putting your tiny home on the land here in northern Arizona. Now, the other issue is a lot of times people will say, well, there's no HOA, so I can do whatever I want, but that's not true, because just because there's no HOA doesn't mean there are no CC&Rs, you know, rules, covenants, and restrictions regarding that property. And so it also is difficult to do a search because you might say no HOA and you're bringing back hundreds of lots, but now you have to go through each list and see is there CC&Rs, and then oftentimes you know there's CC&Rs, but the listing agent hasn't attached it to the listing, and you have to call, hey, could you get me CC&Rs for this property? And they say, oh yeah, and they never do. So sometimes difficult to get the CC&Rs. Also, do I want to have to go through and read every single lot that you like? Say you send me, oh, these 15 might. Do I want to go through and read all the CC&Rs? No, I'm not going to do that. So what I could do is, if you are interested in looking for land, I can send you the list of land that kind of matches up your criteria, but I am not going to be able to go through all the CC&Rs. You can look for them and find them yourself. I can give you a list of property, but this is the reason I'm telling you, it's very, very difficult to find a land where you can park a tiny home. And that brings me to the second request that I actually get quite often, is I just like to find a piece of land and I want to come put my RV on it and I'm going to live there. So same issue. Many pieces of land don't let you do that. You can only park your RV when you're actively under construction on the site-built home only that's required for that land, or even a manufactured home only. They don't want you to live on the RV on the land. Now, I'm not saying again that you can't do this. I'm just saying most of them in northern Arizona have that restriction that you can only have your RV on the land while you're building, and they're going to have that be having a building permit, and then you can only live in there 1, maybe 2 tops years from the beginning of construction. So they don't want your construction project to be stretched out over 10 years. So again, hard to find a place where you can park your RV and live on your own lot because of restrictions to the land. And the same thing, just because there's no HOA doesn't mean that that rule can't be enforced. It's just a little more difficult. The homeowners have to get together and hire a lawyer and get you to stop the behavior that they don't want, which is you living in your RV on a piece of land. And especially if you're close to town, you know, close to Flagstaff, Sedona, forget it. Don't think that's going to ever happen. Now, sometimes you'll see places way far from town, like, you know, Seligman or Ash Fork or Heber or something way far away, and they would be more likely for you to be able to live in it. But the issue again is very hard to find the list because you're getting a list back, and then how are you going to say Can I live in my RV if it's in the CCNRs? Makes it very difficult. Now, there is the listing service from Phoenix that has a checkbox on there when you're entering to list it. Is it an RV lot? And so you could get a list back that says you can have an RV on the lot. But in the other 3 I subscribe to 4 MLSs. The only one I know of that has the box that says RV lot is Phoenix. So if you're looking near Flagstaff or Sedona or Prescott, it's again hard to pull out a list of land that will allow you to do that. And instead, I'm going to have to give you an enormous list of 300, and you have to go through and find out which one will let you live in the RV, which is going to be pretty much none. Okay, so that is the second reason. Now, the third request that I get more often than I thought would be someone comes to me and I have a pre-approval, a pre-qualification for $150,000 to $185,000 home. Let's go shopping. Can you find me a house to live in? And the sad truth is, in northern Arizona, stuff is so expensive that almost impossible to find something in that price range. And when you do find something in that price range, almost guaranteed it's not going to be financeable. Now, so you might be thinking, well, why can't I finance a home for $150,000 if it's there? Well, most of the time it's going to be because it's either uninhabitable, because it's got so much work required that it's not, got that certificate of occupancy, and so the lender won't loan on it. And the other most common reason, it's a mobile home or manufactured home. And there are several reasons that will keep your manufactured home from being qualified for a VA or FHA loan. For one is that if it was built prior to 1976, if it's too small, many times a single wide won't qualify, and a park model never qualifies. And the other, of course, is if it's in a park in a mobile home. So there are places that will loan on, the 1972 or the tiny one or in a park, but those aren't going to be FHA or VA. They're going to be my special loan company, and those companies will also charge you a premium for interest. So you'll be paying a percentage to or higher than what you're going to get in that pre-qualification that you bring me for a VA or FHA or even conventional. It's going to be higher, and so now your purchase power is even going to go lower. Now they're going to say $125,000 you're qualified for. So very difficult if you're looking for something in that very low price range. Now, I'm not saying again that you can't or that I won't help you, but I'm going to say I'm going to have to give you a list, and you're going to have to do your own research of the conditions that will let you qualify. Now, probably if I send you to one of my colleagues, partners that sell in Tucson and then sometimes in Phoenix, they can find you something, because homes are cheaper, especially in Tucson, and there are more that will qualify. But if you come to me and say $175,000, what do you got for me? It's going to be like, you're going to wait 6 months and I might have 3 to send you. So just realize that stuff is expensive in northern Arizona, and I'm sorry, that's just how it is. Okay, next request I get is, request number 5 is a piece of land off-grid, far out of town, that needs a loan. So it's, again, a lot of the stuff is that land is very hard to get a loan for to begin with. But if you have land that's either way far out of town or doesn't have utilities, has no water, has no electric, the 3 or 4 land loaning companies that I know of are going to immediately say no. So if you're looking for something way off grid or way out of town, you're probably going to want to bring cash, because most of those sales are cash. Now, I'm not going to say there's no one that will loan you on those. I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say it's super difficult, and I can give you a list of 300 lots that meet your criteria, and if you don't have cash, you could spend 3 or 4 days on the phone calling lenders, and all of them will turn you down. So in that case, you're probably going to have a private person do a loan for you, or come up with something, and I'm sorry that I can't give you a more comprehensive list of lenders. I just know very, very few. I don't know of any, actually, that will loan on an off-grid, way out of town piece of vacant land. So if there is a building on it that's inhabitable, yes, I can find lenders who will do that, but on a vacant lot, really, really difficult, if not impossible. Okay, number 6, I get this request more often than I ever thought. Would be a large parcel of land, like a 10-acre land, that you can convert to a campground where you have glamping. So glamping actually sounds kind of fun, some kind of glamorous camping. I would not do that now because I'm old, but when I was in my 20s and 30s, I would have gone for this glamping idea. But to find a huge parcel of land that's in a residential or even in a agricultural area, it's not going to be zoned correctly, because I know at least in Yavapai County, one big parcel of land is only allowed 1 to 2 guest houses. So I've had people think, well, what if I build a bunch of like 12 tiny home cabins and I rent all of them out for short-term rentals? You're gonna have a super hard time with the zoning on that. And you could find something that's not zoned and think you're gonna go to the county, and the county could help you apply to change the zoning. But what's likely to happen is they're gonna have at some point a meeting where the locals are gonna hear about it, and they're gonna be furious that you're trying to do this in their neighborhood, and they're all gonna show up and your zoning request is gonna be denied. Now, I can give you lists of land and you can do your research, but it's going to be super hard. Maybe if it's zoned commercial, I mean, we could discuss that, but it's going to be super hard to find something that will allow you to make a campground or a glamp ground or whatever for this glamping idea, which seems fun, but hard to execute, to find a property that will allow you to do that. So the next request that always causes a problem is if somebody wants me to write up an offer on a property, but they have no money for an escrow deposit. So an escrow deposit, basically we used to call it the good faith money, the good faith deposit, but if you're writing up an offer, and typically I will suggest 1%, right? So if you're writing up an offer for a $500,000 house, you're probably gonna put an escrow deposit of $5,000, good faith money. Basically, during the due diligence period, you are able to look around. If you see anything you don't like about the property, you can cancel and get that $5,000 back. But after the due diligence period, now if you cancel for some bogus reason, you forfeit that money and the seller gets to keep it. Unless you say your financing falls through the last minute, or there's a problem with the septic inspection or something like that. But basically last minute you could say, I don't like this house, I'm canceling it, because that's a huge ordeal for the seller. So good faith money is what lets the seller know that you actually have intentions of going through with this purchase and that they have a strong offer to consider and they might take your offer. So if you come to me and say I have no money for escrow, I might not even write up that offer. I could call the listing agent and discuss, is there some way we can work around this lack of escrow? But chances are they're going to say, no, I really need an escrow deposit. I've actually had agents counter asking for a higher escrow deposit. So, and in a strong seller's market, which appears to be, we're returning to that, there's no way a seller is going to take an offer that has very small or no escrow deposit. Now realize, of course, if you have a loan and you're putting $10,000 down, that's just a number I whipped out, and your escrow deposit is $2,000, that is going to go towards your down payment. But sometimes when somebody's doing a VA loan, they don't need a down payment, and so you have to scrape up that cash that you will get any overage out at the very end back from the title company. But if you got no money for escrow, chances are we're not going to be able to make a deal. Okay, last thing that's going to be super hard for me to help you with, not impossible, but if you're looking for a mobile home in a mobile home park. So there are some cases, maybe about half of them either, where a owner in a mobile home park will let a real estate agent list it on the MLS for them and pay the buyer commission, the seller commission. But a lot of times the park resident will go to the mobile home park and have the property manager list it for sale, or they will try to for sale it by owner. And the thing is it's not real estate, it's in a park and you don't own the land, so that sale is considered chattel and it goes through the DMV. So a lot of the owners or the property manager of the park manager won't want to pay a buyer's agent, and they'll say, nope, sorry, and then I will be cut out of the deal, and then you'll be completely on your own. Now occasionally a seller or the park manager is nice and they will give a referral fee, and that will allow me to broker the deal for you and look out for your best interest, make sure nothing fishy is going on. But for me to buy a mobile home or to broker a deal in a mobile home park is much more difficult. Not impossible, but just know it's a little more difficult, and it is one of the 7 requests that I get that's like, oh, that's gonna be tough. Not impossible, but tough. So my name's Dawn Dickinson, the channel Living in Northern Arizona. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please give me a like or a thumbs up. And if you have any interest in talking to me about real estate, buying or selling a home here in Northern Arizona, be sure to go to the description below and give me a call, email, text, and I will get back to you. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week.